I'm Jan Peterson. I am the chair of the Huairou Commission, Women, Homes and Community. It's an international organization that started right before the Fourth World Women's Conference in Beijing, China. And the reason it has that name, Huairou, is because the Chinese were afraid of 30,000 women activists heading for Beijing at that point, and they had all the NGOs go an hour away from Beijing in Huairou, China. And at that place, for the first time, we built a grassroots women's tent. So it was the first time in any international organization grassroots women had their own space. And the head of Habitat 2, Wally Endau, came to the tent. And he was so impressed with meeting all these grassroots women that he formed the Huairou Commission. So we are kind of born out of the reality of UN Habitat, but now it's many years later, and we are an organization that has networks and grassroots women who work on what we call a paradigm of change, that go from the local to the global. So we're a bottom-up organization, and we work with the most amazing women in the world, we really do, who are doing phenomenal things. We don't believe that poor women are recipients or clients. They are actors, and they're leaders of their own development. We were a founding member, and Huairou has been I think the main women's group initially, and the Global Land Tools is all about this whole continuum of practice. It's an effort to try to pull all the people working on land, from land administrations, housing ministry, to women working on the ground, poor people. So we have this combination, and we got intrigued by the fact that there was a sincere effort to bring the poor, who are doing the real stuff on the ground, along with planners and architects and all the others. And we have been a part of developing the gender evaluation criteria. We were led by Clarissa Augustinus, that she felt it was really important that women be able to look at any land tool and be able to evaluate it in terms of how sensitive it is to what the priorities and needs of women are. So we have done that. It is being used. It is going on. But in general, we are a group that works on women and land on the ground, and who will work with all these different levels of ministry. So we found it let's just say we found it an interesting place to be, because in the world we're in, you have to work in partnerships. So because they convene all these different types of actors, for poor women, if you're working in, say you're in Mathare here in Kenya, and you're working on slum upgrading, or you're working on getting your own piece of land, or you're working on trying to do a housing cooperative, and you can come to a meeting where you can, one is meet other people that are doing those things and learn from them, but you can also meet with your housing ministry or your parliamentary, you can be engaged with the very people that are in the policy positions. It's a good thing. We're very strong that women actually need to get land and housing. A lot of people talk about human rights, rights to housing, rights to this, right to that, but we are very big on what actually is happening. Are they getting the land? Are they not getting the land? We are looking at from the customary and traditional to all the different forms of home ownership, all the processes along the way, so that women can think themselves, what are the forms of home ownership that make sense to me? What will make me safer? What will give me security? Because most women do not have security of tenure. They think they do. Like women farmers in the U.S. didn't realize in the 50s and 60s, they thought they owned the farm with their husband, and then when he divorced them, they found out they didn't own the farm. So we're trying to get women to explore these issues themselves, and look at the whole continuum of process. Is it better, for example, if you're living in a customary land with a chief? You're a Maasai woman. I think of Huairou in Tanzania, where now 800 plots of land have been given to women, Maasai women who are in polygamous marriages. They have their own land. Of the 800, 135 are formal, but the other 650 are not formal. So which is better? And is it better, and to explore these issues, because I frankly am quite concerned with the urbanization process. What happens tomorrow? You get AIDS, you have two children, the husband goes, you have to take care of the children. What are the fallbacks? What is the security? See, is it better to keep the customary and traditional land out in the rural area where your family may have come from, even if you're here, so that sometime you could go back or you could get food because you still have a claim, even if women's name is not on it? And yet most women want to have their name on something. So I think we have to really look at this rural-urban link. What gives us real safety? Because you're here in the city, all of a sudden, no job, how do you pay for things? Everything is cash. Everything in New York City, every single thing on any given day. So you don't have cash, you could be living on the street. So how do we look at secure tenure? So we want to explore the whole process and the continuum with large groups of poor women and all different kinds, whether they're single mothers or they are traditional families or whatever. But we think it's an important topic to have, that this conversation's been too narrow. Go buy a house, and then you get a house. We just had hundreds of thousands of people in the U.S. that bought homes that lost them in the last 5-7 years. And that's with a good president in office. So we're, that's the seriousness of it. I think one is to explore the ownership models. Is it, and to understand them. What do you get out of what? If you have a housing cooperative, say you and 10 other women buy a piece of land and you own a building together, is that a more secure thing than you by yourself? So I think that we have to look hardly at the ownership models and look at which ones get what, really. And that is a part of it, it's part of what I'm saying. Do people need to, in developing countries, is it important if you're urbanizing to keep rural land? And what claim do women need to make on the rural land? Like the Maasai women, maybe it's better that those 650 people that have plots from the chief than the 139 that now have it formal and could sell it. See, that's because that's the other point. If you're on the traditional, the customary land, they divide it all up. Like Kenya, a lot of the land here has been divided up. And then you sell it. And whole communities of people end up not having food. So I think, what I'm saying is that there is no perfect thing, because some people are saying that it's better to rent. I happen to come from what I call working class background. I own a house in New York because I come from a family that the only thing they ever had was owning the house. And that is my one asset. A lot of Americans, it's their only asset, but when they lose that only asset, what? So I think, we're just saying that at this stage, we want to start the process, look at it, and have conversations with people in different places and look at with poor women who are going to live these realities, or with single women in cities, right? What would make a difference to you? Do you want to keep living at home with your family? Do you want to add a room on to the back of mother's house? We have, but, a lot of the kids are coming home right now. So I think it's a big question. That's why we are proposing having some expert meetings, they call EGMs, where you bring all kinds of people together. But the difference of our work and other people's work is that grassroots women will be a big part of the dialogue and at the center of the discussion.